All right, welcome and very good evening, everybody, to yet another live stream. And oh boy, are we in for a treat. It's it's actually 10 o'clock at night here in Dubai. I was about to go sleep, but to be honest, looking at the markets and especially crypto in the last few days is just absolutely crazy. So I thought I'll jump on here and just go through a little bit, share with you some of my thoughts on what's happening in the markets, what I'm doing with the prices, and just have a look what the reasons are, why we are at the price that we are seeing today, which are absolutely bonkers. I can really say that. Let's kick things off. Obviously, looking at the crypto markets over here, and I think let's focus really on Bitcoin because that really kind of leads by design everything else, and we see up to date, year to date by 100%. I mean, absolutely crazy numbers. And the last few days, I mean, President Trump, about to be president once again, hasn't been elected even a week, and we've been already seeing crazy rally. The Trump and pump, they call it. It's in full swing, and you can see we were at some stage almost close to 85K already, which is absolutely, I mean, we all knew that eventually Bitcoin would go higher, right? We spoke already a few months ago that it will reach this year 100,000 and so forth, but that it would happen so fast just shortly after the election really shows how much enthusiasm there is in the market. So again, for better or for worse, will he be the great president? We will see. But for the markets, I think he's really a good president so far, at least. So when we look at it for the month, we're up in 1 month 34%, which is just unreal, right? When you think about it, really, really impressive numbers. And if we go back not so long ago, let me zoom out here a little bit, we will see the numbers. What are we, if you imagine back in 2022, because people still ask me, Kai, is now a good time to buy? And, not so long ago, I remember when I did videos about Bitcoin and people say, Bitcoin is done, it's boring, there's no more growth. I mean, don't forget, that was literally in 23 even. We were still at, what is this, $16,000. Now we are pushing 85, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see 100K by the end of the year, or probably way before even that. So it just goes to show, how much enthusiasm is there. And obviously, Trump has a big impact on that, right? Fundamentally, Bitcoin as such hasn't really changed its fundamental value proposition. If you read books like the Bitcoin Standard a few years ago, you would have already understood the value proposition that Bitcoin offers. But now I believe with Trump coming on board as a new president, there's just so much enthusiasm and hopium baked in, right? Because at least that's what he said. He will make a lot of changes, and we'll come to this in a second, of potential, actual people that he will change in the government to make them more pro-crypto, and that will hopefully have a multiplier impact on the prices going forward. But another more short-term impact that we see already is, of course, the great impact of Bitcoin ETFs in general, crypto ETFs, but especially Bitcoin ETFs. And we see BlackRock, right? I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world. They have seen their Bitcoin ETF overtake their gold ETF, which is mind-boggling. I believe the gold ETF from BlackRock has been around since 2005 around, so almost 20 years to reach a market capitalization of, what is that? I think something around $33 billion in gold ETF, right? So the same, basically you wouldn't physically own the gold, but you would invest into that ETF to own gold. BlackRock will buy it and store it on your behalf. So literally Bitcoin in, I think less than a year, since January, they've now reached 34 billion, surpassing that of gold, which is just mind-boggling. And it shows you how much excitement and actual money is flowing into, obviously Bitcoin in general. And eventually BlackRock is going to become one of the biggest holder of Bitcoin because they're buying so much physical Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's not actually physical, but actual Bitcoin on the blockchain, on behalf of their investors. So I think that just fuels further the price drive that has already been happening, you see, the last few months. But now, of course, with the news of Trump coming into office, in a couple of weeks, I think, with a pro-crypto friendly environment coming up over there in the US, that will further fuel the desire for investors who don't want to necessarily own Bitcoin themselves, right? Because still a lot of people struggle to take self-custody of the Bitcoin. And I get it, right? For some people, it might just be more comfortable buying it through a trusted institution like BlackRock, BlackRock and others. And don't forget, there's also pension plans and other institutional funds that buy through BlackRock because they don't want to be taking self-custody of the crypto themselves. So I think that's a good way. I'm sure that number will only continue to grow and hopefully take some of the valuation out of gold and shift it into Bitcoin. That's at least my hope, because I'm a Bitcoin investor and I don't buy any gold. So we shall see. But here we have the top asset classes by market capitalization in the world. And of course, still by far, gold is the biggest. But we've seen, while Bitcoin has been going up in the last few days, we also saw that gold is dropping. Now, gold has had a good run the last few months, but I believe now with a Trump presidency coming up in the near future, I think since he is so pro-Bitcoin, I think there's more money shifting into Bitcoin and out of gold. That's my humble belief, and I think many other thought leaders in the space do as well. And when you look at it, we're still far behind the market capitalization of only 1.7 trillion at a price point of 85K per Bitcoin. Now, imagine the capitalization, the value of Bitcoin would double, right? That would bring the price to around, 170,000 per Bitcoin, which would bring the market capitalization, by doubling the price for it, to around 3.2 trillion, which literally would still only put it ahead of Microsoft, but behind Nvidia and Apple. So even at $170,000, it's still not outrageous, right? It literally can go 10x to reach gold. So that's just to put things into perspective, because sometimes, I really think a lot of people, myself included, we struggle with how much is Bitcoin worth? Is that a lot? Is that not a lot? When Bitcoin was priced at 20,000, some people said, oh my God, it's crazy. It's way overpriced. You're buying literally fake stuff. There's nothing. It doesn't exist. You pay $20,000. Well, yeah, some people believe in that, and it does actually have real world value already. And we see that now being valued more and more going forward. So yeah, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 100K rather sooner than later. But I also want to caution you, so I'll come to this in a second, is not only, I'm very conservative in a way, as much as you can say that for a crypto investor. I still like to caution people and don't only follow the hype, but keep in mind there's also short-term fluctuations, which any asset class has, right? All of the stocks, they had short-term fluctuations along the way, but long-term, if you invest into something valuable, like an Apple, like a Microsoft, you have had great gains over the years. Anyhow, let's have a look. A couple of funny anecdotes over here. Remember when Germany was selling their seized crypto, which they seized from one of those pirate websites. They closed it down, took the Bitcoin and sold it. And everybody was panicking. It was 50,000 Bitcoin at the time. Not so long ago. When was that? I think in summer this year. Well, basically, if they would have held on to this, it would have profited them an additional $1.1 billion. I mean, just crazy numbers when you think about. And that's also an interesting point to consider because, ask yourself, it's amazing when you open your phone in the morning. First thing I open my crypto portfolios and I see the number going up and it's amazing. But ask yourself, at what point do you want to take profits and sell? Because, is it at 200,000, 300,000? What happens if it goes to 1 million one day, right? So honestly, I don't have the answer. I don't see myself selling it anytime soon. I don't know. It would literally have to be over 1 million. But even then, because ultimately, I believe long-term, Bitcoin is a deflationary asset because there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins in circulation. So the more buying pressure is there, people want to have it, the more valuable it becomes by design because you can't print more, contrary to dollars, pounds, euros, right? The governments just keep on printing and therefore the value doesn't actually increase. On the contrary, we have inflation and your purchasing power decreases. So that's something I like about, obviously, Bitcoin there. But yeah, something to keep in mind. One of the funny memes, The Simpsons always on point. But yeah, obviously didn't go down too well. Of course, I understand governments, they're not speculating long-term buy and holders. But yeah, Bitcoin probably, hopefully some people in the German government will wake up to keep it in their balance sheets or assets, like they have also gold. A lot of countries around the world, they obviously store their gold. So I would hope that in the future, some of the central banks, they also keep some Bitcoin as a reserve. And I believe Trump actually mentioned, he hasn't actually confirmed he will do that, but he alluded towards having potentially Bitcoin as a reserve asset on their books. Now, in the meantime, this gentleman over here, I think most of you in the crypto space or whoever follow a bit of Bitcoin are familiar with him. Michael Saylor, amazing gentleman, such a smart guy. After this stream, go watch some of his videos. I mean, a real visionary and a real legend in the space. Well, guess what? He continued buying, right? And now his holdings, or the company's holdings, MicroStrategy, is worth 23 billion. So he continued buying. I think he bought now even at an average price of, okay, let's open up 1 second, at $74,000. So when people ask, so is it still a good time to buy? Well, as per him, it is. He bought it when it was very low, but he even buys now. And I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps on buying at 85 and at 90K, right? Because he really sees the long-term, value and long-term benefits that Bitcoin offers. Otherwise, he wouldn't invest. He's not a trader moving in and out. He just accumulates. And yeah, I think that action speaks louder than words, right? You can read so many tweets from people, what they say and think, and what I think doesn't really matter. Look at what people with real wealth and real money do. That should tell you what potentially you might expect going forward. And now his gains in total so far, the gains unrealized because he didn't sell, but taking all his portfolio, what he put in, and the unrealized gains right now are over 10 billion, which is quite insane when you think that his total holding is 23 billion. So yeah, some juicy returns he managed to create in shareholder value over there. Now another boost, why we of course see, amongst many other reasons, but obviously with Trump coming up as the president, he's also outspokenly against the SEC chair, Gary Gensler, and he would definitely consider replacing him, right? And I think the same with the Fed chair over there. So he wants to make a lot of people changes in the various financial sectors, at least across the board, I suppose, but especially within finance, because he, for example, doesn't like that they can dictate the interest rate, right? The president doesn't really have much say into what's the interest rate going to be for, the USA in that case. And that's something you want to change. The same with the SEC. He wants to become and make it much more crypto friendly. At least that's what he said. And of course, that's why, again, it fuels a lot the crypto prices jumping up because, investors assume if he was to change the SEC chair with a more pro-crypto friendly person at the head, we'll probably see more ETFs being approved, right? There's talks of a potential Solana ETF. We recently had, of course, the Bitcoin ETF approved. That was a big success. So maybe if we have other ETFs being approved as well, in general, more positive policies towards crypto, potentially we would see further price hikes going forward. So that's why, again, it's yet another excitement and driver behind the recent price hikes we've seen. Let me jump back, see if there's any other movement since we started the stream. Did we hit the 85 yet? Nope, not yet. So let's keep a tap on that. If we're going to hit it during the stream, that would be great. Anyhow, I also want to caution you guys, nothing ever is perfect, right? Just go to Google Trends and see the search volume for Bitcoin. Look, over the last 90 days worldwide, there was immediate interest. Like there was always people talking about it, but moderately. But then obviously with Trump being elected and the boost in stock prices as well, but especially crypto going up, now there's so much hype. So, that's something to keep in mind. Do you want to buy at the top? Probably not, right? Even though, as I just shown you, Michael Saylor does, but he has a different time horizon. He has different funding. He has different agenda and approach, which may not make sense for you and I. But yeah, we'll speak about this in a second. But personally, for me, it just signals it's probably a little bit too hot right now, and I wouldn't definitely, myself at least, not buy at such prices. And also keep in mind, people like Warren Buffett, again, he's a legendary investor, right? You gotta love the guy. You cannot love the guy. But of course, he doesn't like crypto, right? So, which is fair enough. There's no right or wrong. Everybody has their own investing style, and he has arguably done rather well for himself. But he's not a believer of Bitcoin, which is fair enough, and crypto in general. But he's now sitting on a really nice little amount of cash. Pushing $350 billion of cash reserves. Berkshire Hathaway, his company. So the question is, what is he seeing that many are not seeing yet, right? Is he expecting a major reset, a dip? like if the markets are booming so much, why would he not want to participate in that? Now I understand he's not going to put his money into Bitcoin, totally get it, right? And I understand a lot of you watching might be very critical of that even now, and I totally get it, right? Nobody should be forced into investing in that, and you can still make money, as we've seen, and I'll come to this in a second, in stocks and ETFs. There's so many great other asset classes out there. You don't have to invest in crypto. It just happens to be rather hot right now. But yeah, when I see that, like I really wonder, again, what does he know that we don't know, right? And of course, we had this prediction from Goldman Sachs not so long ago that the S&P 500 over the next 10 years is expected to grow at 3%, which, well, I mean, given the last few days, I think we've been already way higher. That would mean for the remainder of the year and coming years, we should see very, very tiny growth, which once again, given the enthusiasm that Trump brings to the markets, because again, I don't know what he will do outside the financial impact he's leaving, but at least on that side, he's definitely fueling the markets. It's palatable. You can really feel and sense the excitement in the markets. So again, let's be honest. I read another article recently of how many times Goldman Sachs was wrong. So again, any prediction is just a prediction, right? Nobody knows the future, but just keep it at the back of your mind, right? That's what I'm saying. You probably wouldn't want to buy right now at the top of the table. On the contrary, you may want to continue to dollar cost average. And once again, I'll come to this in a second. That's exactly what I've done myself today, not with Bitcoin, but with my other investments. So let's look at some of the other stocks, what they're doing in the markets. Some of the top gain, of course, most actively traded, of course, Tesla. How else could it be with Elon Musk at the front? I mean, there's so much, again, excitement behind him and his company doing well, being buddy with Trump. So I'm sure we'll see more and more good news for Tesla investors and Tesla company coming out. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement behind that. Of course, Coinbase benefiting from the appreciation and excitement in the crypto markets. People in the US, I think it's one of the biggest exchanges for them where they can trade. So naturally, they will benefit from more activity on the platform. So yeah, that's nice for them to see. MicroStrategy, we just spoke about it. Michael Saylor up 18%, which is even higher than Bitcoin. Bitcoin, what we said here today, up 4.46%. So even MicroStrategy outperforming Bitcoin, which is interesting. Some people ask me, should you invest directly into MicroStrategy? It is a way, right? In a way, it's like almost investing in a Bitcoin ETF. So instead of spending your money with BlackRock, where you would technically pay a management fee to BlackRock, here you would technically invest in MicroStrategy without a management fee, right? You just do it like a stock. But then again, you have the risk of potentially having him at the helm. So the question is, if one day he was to pass or move on or sell, you never know, right? So then what will happen to the company itself? Plus, I like to own the actual asset, right? Having Bitcoin, I can trade it, I can sell it, I can move it, I can do all these things. Here, I can just buy and sell shares. And well, I like to have the actual thing rather than, invest in a company that manages the thing, in this case Bitcoin, on my behalf. But again, it is a choice if you want to have a bit more maybe passive approach to it. In terms of top gainers, similar story again. We have here, what is this, Riot Platforms, I think. They are also a crypto mining company, if I'm not mistaken. So once again, so much fuel and excitement. Bitcoin mining, data centers, engineering. So those companies, of course, again, are booming as well, right? It's like in the gold rush, some people were trying to find the gold, other people were selling the shovels, the gold shovels to the gold miners, and they were actually making more money. So that's a similar story if you invest into mining companies, which once again, I personally wouldn't do. I would just want to invest in the actual asset. Of course, we have also some losers, anything stands out here? No, just different companies, I guess. AbbVie, for example, probably bad earnings. Does it say over here? AbbVie are trending lower after company announced its phase 2 Empower trials, investigate, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's a pharma company. Obviously, here they really depends on trials, right? Some trials or things are not being approved, not going the right way. Immediately, the stocks take a hit. I mean, I used to, let's pull up Pfizer, actually. I used to own quite a bit of Pfizer, and they paid a nice dividend. And I was really bullish on them long term, but eventually I just lost the conviction. And actually, I'm quite happy I sold. It didn't really do miracles. What did I sell? I think around here, kind of, even though I still took a loss, but actually I sold at not a bad time, to be honest. So yeah, quite happy with that. So again, it just shows it's so difficult to really time the market, invest in the right stock. And that's why, mostly I invest in ETFs. So when I pull up my ETFs over here, let's have a look. They're actually doing rather well. Come on. All right, here we go. Slightly down a little bit. Nasdaq 100 down 0.5%, which is okay. I bought today. I'll show you in a second in my account. But I bought some more today because, yes, of course. Let me open up my eToro account so you will see. I bought some more today. As you can see over here, added my funds and then bought basically 50-50. I bought $300 worth of S&P 500 ETF. You can see over here. So pretty much, that's just the spread. I'm down 39%. But that's something I really like about eToro. You can really see each position when you bought it and when you're up and when you're down. See, on one position I'm up, 156. But some of the earlier buys, I'm pretty much break even. So that's cool. You get an idea of how your different position and buys in different periods of time are doing. And the same with the Nasdaq 100, which I bought down slightly, but totally fine. Once again, on the big picture, I'm up now $444. And I only started eToro account really just a couple of weeks ago. So still a fairly new portfolio, which I'm planning to buy and build obviously over time. But I'll continue to dollar cost average because obviously, we don't know. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? And while it's nice, of course, to see a portfolio in the green, when you open up, the stocks and portfolios on your phone, it's great to see the green. But then when it comes to buying more, it's also painful, right? Because you knew that last week you paid way less for the same amount of shares that you got, right? But that's just the whole point. Let me go back to the S&P over here. That's just how dollar cost averaging works, right? Otherwise, you're not going to compound. If you stop buying when it's at the higher price point, you're never going to benefit from the capital appreciation and the compounding effect over time. So that's the whole point, right? The prices over time increase, but yet you still keep on buying. That's dollar cost averaging. If you wait for pullbacks and they never happen, you basically miss out on all those gains. So as painful as it is to sometimes pay more for it, you do that assuming, again, nobody knows the future, but you assume that will continue to grow. And that's the whole point over there. And that's what I would also suggest for Bitcoin, right? Still not the 85 yet, but we're getting there. The same with Bitcoin, right? I mean, again, would I now, if I had 10K sitting around doing nothing, put it into the market? Probably not. Even though I did do that in previous times. I think I bought, even this year earlier, let me go out a bit. Where are we? Yeah, I think I bought, when it was at around, where is it? I think in the middle of the year, something here. I bought like at 50, I remember. And people say, you're crazy. Why are you buying at the top, right? And for a time, really, when I bought it, it went kind of downward a bit, sideways. But if you just hold on to it long enough, it will once again appreciate, right? I'm at least investing for the long term. And that's what I'm saying. The same with ETFs. When people say, oh my God, you're buying now, it's so expensive at the peak. Yeah, well, guess what? I mean, it keeps on being the peak. There's going to be new peaks in the future. And that's why I'm so bullish long term. Look, we're here back 1990s where the price used to be significantly less. And yeah, I think, in 2030, we're going to be, what is it now? The S&P 500, I don't know, going to be at 7, 8, 9,000, right? Why would it stop at 8,000 or 6,000, what we have now? Why would it stop? Why would now be the stop? It just wouldn't make sense unless the entire economy collapses under Trump, which frankly speaking is probably unlikely, especially now that I believe the excitement also with AI. A lot of the industries, of course, on the one hand side, they will lose a lot of jobs because, people are going to be made redundant and so forth. But at the same time, I think the economy and many companies will run much more efficient, lean, more profitable, which in turn will increase the shareholders' value and return and drive up the prices. So I see no reasons why with more efficiencies the companies would do worse. I think they will only do better and therefore share prices will do better. But again, that's just my humble opinion. It might also go the other way around. We shall see. But overall, I'm definitely feeling very, very bullish. Let me just also 1 second open up my Nexo account over here so you guys can have a look. Because I recently moved once again a bit more funds over there, and I'm really happy with it because now I'm getting. I would not do this in times of a bear market, right? When the crypto markets are struggling. Let me now switch over here. Yep. All right. So if you remember, I did a video. I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something where I moved. I literally had here, I don't know, like $2,000-$3,000 sitting. And then I moved quite a bit of my Bitcoin over to Nexo. And I think at the time it was a value after I moved everything at 43,000. That was a combination of some of my USDT and Bitcoin. So that was, I think, like 2 weeks ago. And now it's almost 10K more without me buying anything more. So yeah, obviously I'm very happy with the overall gains. I still have technically the bigger part of my portfolio on my Ledger hardware wallet and Tangent wallet. So that's where I have the majority. Even though right now, yeah, it's still definitely more than here. Even though sometimes I'm still thinking, should I move more? Because of course it's tempting, right? When you see the interest I'm getting, it is very tempting. Look at this, the interest I'm getting here. Every day now, $6.40, $6.20. I'm now depositing more USDT. Let me go into the USDT because here I'm getting now 9.25% interest. So now I will send another couple of K into here because yeah, that obviously makes a difference, right? On my bank account now, I still get 4% in UAE bank account, which is quite attractive. But here at 9.25, I feel very confident. And once again, I would not do that if we start seeing a major correction in the crypto market, prices going down, because I know then, potentially there might be decoupling from USDT, the peg, because now it's 1-to-1 with the dollar. If that was to drop and the markets get, more shaky, I would definitely, convert my USDT back into dollars, withdraw them to my bank account, and also move my my Bitcoin holding over here, move that back to my hardware wallets, Tangent and Ledger, and just wait on the sidelines. But while the markets are hot, I know money flows into it. A lot of money goes into Nexo and any other of the crypto exchange. They're having a good time, right? It's the same with banks. When the interest rates are high, they're having a great time. So right now, I really feel not much worry. I think overall they're doing a great job. They're on the right path. But again, if as I go back to our legendary investor, if he's right and sees something else that's happening potentially, and I start seeing the markets crumbling, prices of Bitcoin and other assets, pulling back big time, then surely I will remove it, because ultimately, what is it? Rule number one in investing: don't lose money, as Warren Buffett always said. So I'm very cautious, right? Yes, I could potentially probably get more gains by investing right now in individual shares, like going in Tesla, going into MicroStrategy, buying some smaller coins over here, right? I could buy some whatever, I don't know, I don't even follow them, to be honest. I used to for a while, and people keep on asking me which altcoins to buy. I'm just not really into that because, again, it's very difficult to predict which is going to be the winner, especially long term. And so I'm not really worried about that. But yeah, what I'm saying is I'm going to look at the markets overall, see their health. We can even go into the market overview here and see what's happening. As long as we're in a bullish situation, I'm going to keep my money with Nexo, but as soon as I start seeing crumbling or bearish scenario, I will definitely pull at least bigger funds out of there. We see also the fear and greed index, always nice to look at. It's obviously a combination of different factors, but it kind of, looks at the overall sentiment, what's happening in the markets, and overall people are greedy, right? And as once again Warren said, when people are greedy, be fearful. Is there a correction coming? Is there not? I personally don't think we're going to see the correction very soon, even though I think we're going to see it eventually, right? It's just normal. Nothing ever goes up. I mean, we're going to see corrections along the way. That's natural. And then again, the people who are critical of Bitcoin are going to say out, see, I told you. Yet that I told you keeps on happening, and we keep on reaching new highs long term. So, you just sometimes have to numb out those kind of people. But at the same time also, don't fall for the super hype train. There's a lot of people on X and other social media platforms who say, buy now, this is the best time. Look at their motives, right? A lot of influencers, they're pushing some meme coins. Why? Because they invested. So the more they push it, the value goes up. They cash out and they make the money often before their followers make. And so be very cautious when you see people pushing things too much. They often do that for a reason, right? But right now, as it says, I like that chart here. It's definitely more Bitcoin season than altcoin season. People say once Bitcoin sort of stabilizes, then afterwards it will shift to altcoin season. Again, if you invest in altcoins, maybe, but personally I'm not too much. And you see the dominance, right, of total crypto valuation or market value, which is now at 2.86 trillion, which once again is actually not that much. The whole value of all crypto together, 2.86 trillion, it only places it ahead of Google, still behind Microsoft. So I genuinely think we're still way behind where we potentially could end up. But even out of that, Bitcoin dominates with 58%, more than half of all the crypto value is derived from Bitcoin. And yeah, also, of course, once again, we touched on the ETFs before, but yeah, the inflows are really significant. And it just shows you there's so much institutional demand, and also people who don't want to take self-custody of their Bitcoin. They're really doing well. I think we even have a chart here on the leading ETF. Let me open this up over here. By volume, you will see, very clearly the biggest one is actually iShares, which is the one I showed you before, the BlackRock one. The IBIT has now in total 2.95 billion. 38.7 billion. So even the chart I showed you before, it's already outdated because that was 11, because obviously with the increase of now it's only 3 days later, here we were at 34 billion. So now with the increase of price, it's now that ETF has 38 billion in market capitalization. So just incredible demand for those ETFs there. Right, let's see if we have any questions over here. Let me jump into that, see who's online. Okay, Kreuzritter, I'm a beginner. Is it better to have Euro or USD investment account? Is it safe to put all money from 40 years to IBKR? Well, first of all, it depends where you're from. If you live in Europe, which judging by your name, you might. Again, it might make more sense to invest in euros and not have the foreign exchange currency fee that you will pay. And not just the fee is actually quite reasonable in the active brokers, but it's more the fact that potentially, let's say you need some of the funds and you need to sell your dollar holding. At that time, maybe the dollar exchange rate versus the euro is unfavorable. So then you're literally selling almost at a loss, right? While your gains from your stocks or ETFs are there, sometimes it's offset by unfavorable exchange rate. So unless you really invest for the long term, for many years in the future, I personally invest in dollars because I believe it's probably the strongest fiat currency out there. That's why I prefer investing in dollars. But if you live in euros, like you live in Europe, you earn in euros and you plan to stay there, then probably it makes sense to invest in euros. And is IBKR safe to have 40 years of money? Well, it depends how much you saved in 40 years, but either way, definitely. I think it's probably arguably the most trustworthy, longest serving broker out there. So while I don't think it's the most pretty broker and nor the cheapest one, it's definitely, I would say, arguably the most trusted one. So absolutely, I really can wholeheartedly recommend them. It's also the one where I have currently my biggest funds. So yeah, definitely, I think you're going to be it's a good broker to go with, definitely. Right, what else we have? Vaidas watching. Labas from Lithuania. Labas, nice to see you. Thanks for dialing in. What else we have over here? We have somebody from the Smart Money Club. Good to see you. I think, nice YouTube name also. I love it. Very good one. Hector Ines, will there be a dip? The $1 million question. Definitely there will be a dip, right? Absolutely. I mean, let's just go back to the chart. We see very clearly that there have been always dips and there will always be dips. The question is when, right? That's the only question. Nobody knows when this dip going to be. Right now, there's so much excitement, enthusiasm going on in the markets. So let me pull that up over here. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we just keep on raising straight through, almost touching 90K. I literally would not be surprised. But then certainly you see always there have been dips. After every all-time high, there have been dips. So it's very natural. So the question is, right, are you waiting for the dip? But then also ask yourself, for what dip are you waiting? Let's say right now it's 84. Tomorrow when you wake up, it dips to 79,000. What do? Are you buying then? Because then people get nervous, say, oh my God, crypto starts tanking. This may be the end of it. And it goes to 75. Is that a dip? Or will you wait to go for it to go to 50? And when you really put yourself in that situation, in theory, it sounds easy. If you're not invested or you don't have or you plan to, you can kind of easily talk about these things. But if you have serious money behind it, it actually gets really, really difficult. And that's why I'm not a fan of market timing. I just invest. They invested over a longer period. And of course, for me, it's even harder question when to sell, right? Slowly, my holding becomes quite a significant amount for me. When do you sell? When do you take profits? And honestly, I don't have the perfect answer. Right now, I'm not planning to sell anytime soon. If it would drop to 50K, honestly, then I would buy more. If it drops to 70, right now I wouldn't buy. And actually, I'm not buying right now. What I'm doing, of course, is getting passive income in the form of interest from my Nexo holding. The Bitcoin I have there, I get interest on that. In a month, it's around $180. So it's not that much, but still, it kind of accumulates, right, over time. And I do get some payments in Bitcoin and USDT as well. So that adds to my holding, but I'm not actively buying more myself because, again, I don't know. Is that the dip? Will it, when will it dip? Who knows? We shall see. Jorge, I believe it is. Greetings from Portugal. Once again, nice to see you Portuguese over here. Let me switch back to the full screen. Always good to see you guys around. What else is going on? Guy Cocker, here in the UK, you can't buy the asset in a tax advantage account like ISA or pensions. So while not ideal, as far as I research, MicroStrategy is the best way to get Bitcoin exposure. Okay, fair point. Fair point. Again, I don't know the UK laws, but makes sense if that's something. Because probably you could. Actually, good point. That's something to consider. Would be interesting if that also applies to the Bitcoin ETFs. I suppose that should be a similar scenario in this case, Guy, if you can just jump in there. But I think if you were to buy iShares Bitcoin ETF, I believe it should be a similar story there, which would probably make it even. If I had to choose between MicroStrategy and the iShares BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, I would personally probably go with the BlackRock ETF. Because I just feel that the company, while right now it outperformed actually Bitcoin even, it depends so much on their CEO, their founder, right? Michael Saylor. I just wonder what would happen if he was to ever leave, or again, people pass, unfortunately, that can happen as well. So that would be interesting. But maybe just if you can write in the comments if there's any difference over there. I think I spoke at length about that. I personally don't do it right now. Again, you may buy even now at 84, almost 85, and 3 years from now, it might seem like a bargain, right? Might look back at the chart and say, oh my God, if only I bought at 85, now it's at $500,000, right? Who knows? Then it seems like a bargain. But again, nobody knows the future. If you have a bit of money, I would definitely start dollar cost averaging, buy every week, maybe even every day, right? Some platforms, they charge hardly any fees. Set up an automated buy. You can do that in many exchanges. I start now using also OKX, which is really quite cool. Very nice interface. Maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. Set up, let's say, weekly buys and put it $10, put $50, whatever you can afford, right? Depends on how much money you have available, but dollar cost average over time, because then sometimes you buy some highs, sometimes some lows, but you get a good average price over time. Who else? Let's see. Can you recommend diversification in percentage? Look, good question. First of all, good thinking, not to go all in, because I feel now a lot of people, some people even ask me, Kai, do you think I should sell now my stocks and my ETFs and go all in on Bitcoin and crypto? And honestly, I would really, ultimately it's your choice, right? I cannot tell you what to do with your money, but I would really advise against that. Of course, it's tempting, right? When I look at my S&P, now looking at, even 10%, 12%, 15% gain seems boring compared to what you can have in the crypto market. But really, once again, think long term. There will be times when crypto will do not as well potentially, and then other assets will do better, right? So, and it's not always everything is about maximizing your returns. It's also, diversifying for different reasons, like my rental, like my real estate, for example, generates me cash flow, right? Every single month I get nice rent plus the capital appreciation. Now the overall returns maybe are slightly less than I had with my Bitcoin, but again, it gives me a monthly income to live off, right? Which my Bitcoin right now doesn't. I would have to sell every month some of my Bitcoin to get cash flow. So different assets have different investment purposes, I would say. So I like to diversify. I have 3-pillar strategy: Bitcoin, ETFs, which is S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100, and my real estate, which is quite concentrated as it's well, mostly in the UAE, now a bit in Lithuania as well. But yeah, that way I'm diversified. What works for you, I cannot know, right? Because if you're a younger person, you may want to take more risk. Now, I personally don't believe and like bonds, but if you're a little bit maybe older and you want to kind of have more stable sort of income with interest and so forth, then maybe bonds would work. If you're younger, I wouldn't really recommend you bonds, then maybe go a bit more risky, right? Maybe invest into the NASDAQ 100 for your ETF and buy some Bitcoin. Or if you want really to almost gamble a bit more, or potentially have more gains, go heavy on Tesla, right? I would personally not recommend it, but so you really see it depends on your life circumstances. So do your own research and homework, but just understand how much risk you're willing to take in your investments and how much, volatility can you stomach, because yeah, it's nice, as I said, you wake up in the morning, see the plus, all-time high, amazing. But trust me, very soon it's going to happen, right? We're going to see different numbers and you're going to be in the red. Will you stomach that if your portfolio is down 30, 40%? If you can, great. If not, well, then maybe you want to go a bit safer. Dafido, I think we're going to hit 90K next week. Your word, hope it will come true. Again, I would also not be surprised if we do. Could likely happen. So I would really not be surprised. Guy, no Bitcoin deal sadly in the UK yet either. Hopefully on the way, as it shifted my MicroStrategy holding into ETF as the management. Absolutely. Okay, fair. Thanks for clarifying. And yeah, I fully agree with you. I think once that will be able to go under your tax advantaged ISA holding, I think you call it in the UK, then probably it makes sense, as you said, to shift into that. But for time being, yeah, really good point actually to stick with MicroStrategy. What else? Do you think more big companies will start to invest in Bitcoin from now on? Absolutely, right? I think it goes back to the point of, let me pull that up over here. 1 second, where we spoke about, 1 second. The belief that I think under Trump presidency, he will change quite a few of the heads running and controlling the financial institutions in the US. So once again, I think there's so much hope and belief that a lot of the regulations will become more and more pro crypto and pro Bitcoin, that more institutions will feel comfortable jumping on it, because previously it was a bit of a gray area, right? You kind of didn't really know, can you do it, can you not? There was some companies that started taking Bitcoin payments. PayPal started it. Even Stripe now you can receive payments in crypto, but it was still kind of not really mainstream. But imagine if the SEC really gives the green light on a lot of much more pro-crypto friendly regulation, 100%. Like, I think companies who are not innovating and offering Bitcoin and crypto services, they will actually fall behind. I genuinely believe so. So yeah, 100%. I think more and more companies will jump on it. More and more companies will have some kind of exposure to crypto, most likely Bitcoin on their balance sheet, potentially, like MicroStrategy done it. So I think, yeah, the institutional adoption and exposure to Bitcoin will only further fuel the price frenzy that we've seen in recent times. Right, what else we have here? Guy, once again, I'm not complaining. My holdings in MicroStrategy are up 235%, have made more money on paper today than I'll make in my full-time job. I mean, well done, well played, really nice, happy for you. That's a smart move. And yeah, again, you see, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some, but that was a smart move, and yeah, well played. I mean, really good. And I think we're not at the end yet. I think we're generally just getting started. Mattia, what about S&P 500? Do you think I should wait or buy it? Mattia, just maybe you can rewatch afterwards if you want. I touched on this. I actually just said I bought today more of S&P 500 because, time and time again, people keep on saying, but Kai, it's so expensive. We're at an all-time high. And yeah, that's correct. We're at an all-time high. But look at it, what happened in the past. We've always been at all-time highs, and there've always been new all-time highs, right? Wherever you bought, it kept on rising, right? Now, of course, once again, there might be times that potentially we really see the recession kicking in, which we've been talking about, I don't know for how long, that the real bad recession is going to hit us. Well, so far, touch wood, it hasn't really hit us. And I doubt that it's going to start hitting once Trump comes to office. I think he will do very favorable things for the markets, at least. Maybe not for all the people and so forth and other countries, but for the US markets, I think he will really do his very best to be remembered as a president who makes, a lot of people rich, right? Because that's the easiest way to become popular if you make everyday people and investors happy by having rising prices. I think that's going to be one of his main priorities. We know he's a businessman. So I think generally we're going to start seeing more and more new all-time highs. So again, nobody knows the future, but that's why I keep on buying. I bought myself today, both S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100, and I will continue to do so next week and the following week and the following week. So yeah, that's that's all I can say to that basically. What else do we have? Do you also hear the echo? Could be a slight echo, to be honest. I did upgrade my microphone, so hopefully it's a bit better, but it's still a very open. The room is not the best, so I don't have any soundproofing here, so it's something I consider. So yeah, if it's very echoey, I need to consider that. When I post my videos in post, I can edit the sound a bit, but in the live, sadly, it does pick up some echo. So hope it's not too bad, and you can still get some value out of it. You said you have significant amount of money in real estate. Is it worth it? It's better to have all in S&P and bonds. Once again, there's no better or for worse. It has to work for you. And for me, it works to be diversified. And naturally, right, buying real estate is very capital intensive. Like I bought my first 2 apartments without a mortgage, right? So I basically, financed it over a certain period from the developers. I didn't have to take a mortgage, which saved me a lot of money in interest. It worked for me, but it doesn't have to work for everyone. And some people may not like real estate because also there's a lot of maintenance cost, a lot of ongoing fees. And now I have a company managing it on my behalf because I don't want to pick up the phone when the tenants call me and so forth. And I'm paying them fees. So there's a lot of fees and things to consider in real estate. And after some years, right, after 10, 12, 15 years, I may have to think, do I want to renovate it? Do I want to sell it? So if that's not something you want to spend your time thinking about or handling, then yeah, maybe S&P 500 or other investments may work better for you. So once again, I always say there's no right or wrong. It has to work for you, obviously. What else? Any tips on how European can buy US only stocks like NASA, the American Politics, Whale Trade? I don't know about that stock, to be honest, but I'm not sure what you mean by US only stocks. Like, I suppose you mean like stocks listed in the US. That would be pretty straightforward. We can buy this on any serious stockbroker like Trading 212, Interactive Brokers, eToro. So even you're based in Europe, you can just look them up there. Often you have different choices of exchanges. You can buy it either in the European exchange in London, or you can buy it in the US. So it's up to you. ETFs I would always buy if you're non-US citizens in UCITS form, because there's different taxation rights and so forth. So definitely buy that better in Europe, listed in Ireland. Ireland issued, but you can buy it elsewhere in Europe. US stocks themselves you can buy in the US, no problem at all. I used to buy my US stocks in the US on the New York Stock Exchange very easily. So yeah, that's no issue at all. And then you buy it in dollars basically. That's just something to keep in mind, that you have to exchange your currency there. Mr. Denko, in the long term, if more companies and countries invest in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, would it still make sense for individuals to invest in Bitcoin directly? 100%, right? Because ultimately, you own part of the asset. And since that asset is limited, you're only going to ever have 21 million. Each little piece, even 0.01 Bitcoin in the future, if the price was to increase, and it's even better for you, other institutions, they basically want to buy the Bitcoin from you, and they would only do so if the price goes up. So you will benefit. So your little piece that you own of Bitcoin becomes more and more valuable over time. That's why I like it so much. It's deflationary, contrary to euros, dollars, pounds, which is inflationary, because they keep on printing. Here they can't print more. It's literally coded into Bitcoin itself. So the fact that more institutions come on board, you're not competing with them. They actually help you to bring the price up. So I see that very positively, to be fair. What else we have? Tommy asking, why don't you use Binance instead of Nexo since it has lower fees? Very good question, Tomer. I mean, look, I think if I was to trade frequently in and out of the markets, I would probably do that on Binance. But since I'm really not buying much in recent times, as I said many times, right? I haven't really bought much Bitcoin for quite a while, to be fair. And even when I did, I buy it sometimes on Nexo Pro. So you can also, it's basically just a switch and you don't have to create a new account or anything. If you have Nexo, you can switch to Nexo Pro. And there the fees go significantly less. You still get cashback if you're on a loyalty membership. And with this, literally it's very similar, right? And for me, it's just easier because I have already my funds there. I make my bank transfers there. I prefer the interface much more. Plus, I get my interest afterwards, right? As soon as my crypto hits my Nexo account, I will get interest over there. So that's why I like it. But look, I mean, Binance obviously is the biggest crypto exchange in the world. It's very solid. And if you do a bit of buying and trading, then yeah, maybe it is better. I started now using, as I said, OKX, because the good thing is if you live in the UAE, for me, I can deposit very quickly with my dirhams, the local currency here, without any fees. Which is even better than with Binance, and the fees are similar, and the interface I prefer on OKX to Binance. But again, many great exchanges out there. I just, right now, as I'm not buying and only keeping my interest there, I really like Nexo for the interest. Memento, wanted to say hi, love your lives. Thanks very much, really appreciate it. And I promise to do more of them. I also start enjoying them. It is late, that's the only problem, because now the time zones after the switch, it's a bit different because when I start at 10 in Europe, it's like 8 or 7. So yeah, it's quite late for me. I wish I could do it at 8, but then it's too early in Europe. So I guess not many people would be watching on their workplace, which they probably shouldn't be. But I appreciate you for dialing in, and hopefully the more regularly we do this, we get more regular viewership. But yeah, I enjoyed as well. Do a quick market update and then obviously dive into some Q&A. Bitcoin has hit 85k, guy. Okay, wow, let me pull that up. That is amazing. Let me see. Where do we stand here? Oh my goodness. Love it. 85k. It's just absolutely crazy what's happening. I mean, wow. Let me jump into my Nexo over here and see the price movement. But it's just so nice, when you then go into a portfolio and see the price movement, another $500 up from just a few minutes ago. It's lovely to see. But once again, guys, I want to caution you, it's of course very nice and exciting to see these things, but think long term, right? We're going to see corrections along the way. This is nice, but it's also not natural to see such a huge increase. Let's ride the wave while it lasts. It's fun, it's great, but the wave may not last forever. Even though long term, I do think we're going to see numbers well above $200,000-$300,000. I'm really sure. As I said before, comparing it to gold, we're still way behind it in terms of total market capitalization. So yeah, we still have a long way to go. I just don't want it to be too fast because that's sometimes also not good. I rather have something more steadily increase over time as Bitcoin is maturing and obviously more investors coming on board. But yeah, nice to see that. Good. All right, guys. Well, we're coming up on the 1 hour. I think it's time for me to hit the bed, to wake up tomorrow. Even though it's so exciting to look at the charts, I sometimes need to force myself to switch off the phone, disconnect a bit, and wake up in the morning. But we'll have another video coming out tomorrow, and probably on Wednesday, at least I wish, if everything goes well, I'll do another live stream. So I'd love for you to join in as well. Peter, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And hopefully see you on Wednesday as well. Everybody else, wish you a beautiful evening. Stay invested, get some sleep, and I'll catch you very soon. Take care. Ciao.